Lead him across the line.
He's gonna get down here first.
Look at Andrew Tate playing. Protect that.
Lead him across the line.
He's gonna get down here first.
Look at Andrew Tate playing. Protect that.
So welcome back to Lake Guntersville, the 2019 Race for the Southern Cup. We have activity back on the water, H1 Unlimited style. Jimmy Shane driving a U6, the Miss Hope Street, takes his charge across the start-finish line, and he will hammer it down into the lower corner. This is the third time, I believe, that Mr. Shane has been out on the race course. He tested earlier in the day, posted a lap in excess of 158 miles an hour, and a couple of laps in the one. Actually, he had 3 laps north of 158, his fastest being 158.407. The boat looks very, very strong up the backstretch. I've been telling people here that these guys are going to be sniffing 160. With the water conditions the way we have them, when they get the right setup on the boat, I think we'll see some 160-mile-an-hour laps. But so far it hasn't happened yet. We might see one right here because Jimmy is up and moving. Runs it out to about lane number 3. It is boat number 6, and that's a big topic of conversation. They lost their National High Point Championship in boat number 1, and they want it back. Shane's across the start-finish line with his first lap on the books, and we'll have a speed here for you in just a moment. And he's got it at 159.855, 159, so he is a tick away from that magic 160 mark. If I was a betting guy, this is it. We might see our first 160. Shane is already halfway up the backstretch. Again, water conditions, wind conditions, absolutely perfect here on this 2.5-mile oval on beautiful Lake Guntersville in Guntersville, Alabama. Best way to describe this team is focused. They've got the 6 on the deck of the boat. When the season comes to a conclusion this year in San Diego, they want to rip it off and put a 1 on it. And it all starts here this weekend. Here's Jimmy. Puts his second lap in the books right now. We'll have a speed momentarily as he goes down toward the causeway. You may have heard that in the background, 161.241, 161.241, and he has pulled his foot as he comes off the lower corner and will slow it down. So let's see what he does here now. We talked about timing runs. He ran a couple earlier in the day. See if he may do one of those, but he has got the word from his radio man up here on the tower that they have eclipsed the 160-mile-per-hour mark. Now, again, just to reiterate, this does not count for qualification. These are test runs only. We will go officially qualifying later on this afternoon, and that's when you've got to run the lap at 160 to have it count for qualification. So Jimmy comes off the upper corner. Again, as I said earlier, this is a different setup than in Tri-Cities. The course is identical, but the run from the exit pin to the corner to the start-finish line is much further and longer than it is in the Tri-Cities. And Jimmy's timing it right now, and he brings it across. And I suspect he will pull his foot on that one. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Tell him. Tell him.
Some numbers? Awesome. Okay, race fans, my apologies. We're having a couple technical issues here as we get started in our second test session here of the day. But we've already had some activity on the water, and we've already had some market good activity on the water, as Jimmy Shane was out just before the two boats that are on the course right now. On the course right now is the U11 J&Ds, presented by Reliable Diamond Tool, driven by Tom Thompson out of Cambridge, Maryland. That is the bright chartreuse and carnival orange hydroplane at the top end of the race course. Tom will come down and put another lap in the book. Up the backstretch is Dustin Eccles in a bright orange 440 bucket list racing. But prior to these two boats being on the water, I mentioned the 6 was out. Jimmy Shane, the Miss Home Street, He turned a lap at 161.241 miles an hour, eclipsing the magical 160 mile an hour barrier. So Jimmy Shane has already put the mark up there for everybody to take a swing at. We've got some speeds to give you on both the 11 and the 440. Looks like Tom Thompson's going to head back across the causeway and take his boat back to the pit area. Meanwhile, Dustin Eccles driving a 440. They had some issues this morning. The boat was not running terribly strong. They ran some laps in the low 100s, but he has now turned a couple of laps north of 145 miles an hour. And that has got to be encouraging for them. And I think I just heard a number over here. Let's find out if it was. And if it was right, it was 148.804. Dustin is happy with that. So is the crew chief, and he'll head back to the pit area on the far side of the race course. Again, we'll apologize for some of the technical difficulties that we've had so far throughout the day. We're working to get those ironed out so everything runs a little more smoothly, and it will. We've got some mighty bright people working on it here at the start-finish line. In the meantime, I am told that the U-12, the Graham Trucking, the boat driven by J. Michael Kelly out of Bonnie Lake, Washington, the boat is in the water, so we expect JMK out here. It'll be the second run for J. Michael Kelly. Earlier today, he came out and turned 4 laps, the fastest of which was 157. And I have to believe they are pleased with that one. But still got a ways to go. It's all about testing right now. It's all about finding the combination that will make your boat go the fastest on this water in these water conditions coming up later this afternoon when we go qualifying, and it is for real. And the qualification is very, very important because there are points at stake when you qualify. If you are the fastest qualifier this afternoon, you will earn 100 national high points. If you are the second fastest qualifier, you will earn 80 national high points. And it goes 70, 60, 50, 40, and on down from there. I talked earlier in the day about Jimmy Shane wanting to regain that National High Point Championship. That battle begins today, and it begins in earnest when we go qualifying, and that will happen this afternoon at 4 o'clock. So we may start a little bit earlier than that, but right now on the schedule, we are looking at a 4 o'clock start time for qualification for H1 Unlimited. If you were here a year ago, I don't have to tell you this, but everything that went wrong weather-wise last year has gone absolutely perfect so far today. It could not be better. This is the venue that we were promised. These are the water conditions we came here to see, and so far it has been awesome. We'll take an opportunity here to maybe throw it across and see if we can pick up Paul Doogie over in the other side of the pit area. Paul, can you hear me over in the pit area? So coming down the front straightaway here, J. Michael Kelly driving the bright red Graham Trucking, the U-12 hydroplane. J. Michael, as I said, out of Bonnie Lake, Washington. The boat last year only made 2 stops on the H1 Unlimited circuit. They ran in the Tri-Cities, where they took a 3rd place finish. They ran in Seattle, where they came home in 2nd place. The boat is very, very fast. J. Michael Kelly, very capable driver. And I can tell you there is nobody happier to be on Lake Guntersville right now than young J. Michael Kelly. This is a man that if you gave him a golf cart and hopped up the motor a little bit, he would race you in it. He just wants to race. He loves to do this. If there was a driver that was born to race, this is the guy, JMK, J. Michael Kelly. And he's going to put his first lap in the books here. We'll give him a speed here. He ran a 157 earlier in the day. But I can tell you he did not have a boat ride as good as he's got right now. So let's take a look, see. We'll get a speed on that lap. That lap was 154.200 miles an hour, 154.200 for J. Michael. And for our fans that are new to hydroplane racing here, and I know there's a lot of them here in Guntersville, even if you were here last year, when he comes by the front straightaway here and he goes by you, you don't want to see a lot of that boat touching the water. If the boat's touching the water, that's creating drag, it's creating friction. What he wants to do is get the boat up out of the water, and there's an air tunnel underneath it. And he's got the boat up and out of the water very nicely right now on the front deck of the boat. Over that right side pontoon-like device that we call a sponson, it says Graham Trucking. And that is the sponson area of the boat, and you don't want to see the sponsons making contact in the water about halfway through the word Graham. You want to see them just barely touching back at that first letter, the G. That means they've got the boat set up well and it's running right. Whether he liked it or not, JMK is going to head back to the pit area. Turn that one a little bit slower, 152.503 miles an hour. I was having a conversation a little earlier with another new fan of boat racing here, and I made the comment that if you go out and run as J. Michael Kelly did today, he ran earlier at 157. He goes out and runs now at 154. That does not mean that was not a good test session. That's still a very good test session because you always learn. Maybe what you learn is that wasn't the combination you want to use on this water, but you don't know it until you go out and throw it. So that's what they did. They'll keep tweaking it and see if maybe we can get them back out here and run one more time before we go qualifying. Again, qualifying will come up officially at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Let's take this opportunity now to maybe look at our schedule and see what the rest of the day looks like. And before we go down the schedule, let's throw it over to Paul Doogie in the pit area. Paul, can you hear me over there?
Brad, I can. Can you hear me? Well, maybe Brad can, maybe he can't. We're here in the pits. I am waiting.
Sounds like we're still having a little difficulty hooking up with Paul, but we will get him. He will be helping us out in the pit area. He'll be giving us driver interviews and keeping us up to date and up to speed on what's going on across the lake. Meanwhile, to take a look back at the schedule as we have it, right now we are in the middle of our second H1 Unlimited test session. It will run until 1 o'clock. We will then have some more music on the big stage. That will go from 1 to 2. The Connect Church Worship Band, they will be playing up there. From 1 to 2 this afternoon, our Powerboat Nationals, the Tunnel Boats, they will come out for an official testing session. From 2 to 3, we will go qualifying with our Grand Prix World hydroplanes. That's from 2 to 3 o'clock. And then 4 to 5, we will go H1 Unlimited qualifying. That's when it all counts. It doesn't end there at 5 o'clock because at the main stage here at the start-finish line, we are going to have some driver introductions. That will happen at 5 o'clock on the main stage. And then tonight at 6 o'clock, right here on the main stage, Zach Williams will be in concert. So an awful lot going on here at Hydrofest 2019. That's the schedule for the rest of the day. Let's toss it back across the water to Paul Doogie. Paul, can you hear me now?
Brad, are you there? Yeah, I think you can hear me. I hear it coming over the loudspeaker. So I am going to wait my way
Well,
down
the
the
Eternal
docks
Optimist.
and grab J. Michael Kelly as he
Eternal
comes
Optimist
off of the boat.
is we got the PA thing fixed up on this side. Now we'll fix the PA over there with Paul. We'll get it ironed out. We'll have him. And Paul, if you remember from a year ago, is a very, very knowledgeable H1 Unlimited announcer. He's from the Tri-Cities, Washington, which is, they like to build themselves in the Tri-Cities as Hydrotown, USA. And we tell the people up in Tri-Cities, you want to see a really fun boat race, go down and check this thing out in Guntersville. This is pretty darn good. We tell the people here in Guntersville, you got to go check out that one in Eastern Washington because that's pretty good. These are two really, really fast race courses and great venues. So I have just been told by H1 Unlimited officials we are in a little bit of a hold. Apparently we've got a couple of buoys that are out of place or out of line. I don't see any movement toward anyone specific, but we'll trust they'll know what they're doing. So we're on a short hold here, and then the hope is to have H1 Unlimited's back on the water. They have it till the top of the hour.
All right, we're here in the pits with J. Michael Kelly. Welcome back to Guntersville. Or is it the first time here?
First time.
That's right. You weren't here last year. Although you've been racing since you were, 9 or 10 years old?
Yeah, this is my 31st year of racing, and I believe it's my 16th year in the Unlimited.
Yeah, 16th year. You were one of the rookies, one of the young guns. And here you are, one of the veterans.
Yeah, it's hard to believe I'm considered one of the veterans, but I've been doing this in the big boat since 2004, and still at it and enjoying it. And, yeah.
Getting a little bit of feedback there. We're happy to have you back on the circuit. Plans to race all year?
That is the plan for Graham Trucking and both boats, is to go race the entire season. So we're excited. I'm happy to see Corey Peabody and the 98 guys, getting the opportunity to go out there, and both boats, the guys on both boats have been working their tails off, and it's showing, and we're excited.
Yeah, I talked to Corey earlier. It looks like he's getting ready to go out. He was pretty excited, pretty pumped to be here. 157 was what I heard. Was that what you turned that last lap?
Earlier this morning, yeah, we ran a 157. Our last go wasn't as fast, but right now we're just trying to tune the boat. We got to take the data out, run it up to the truck, and then figure out if we have room for improvement, or if we got to detune it and stuff. So we're always hoping that we can make it go faster, and but we want to make sure that we're all running legal and stuff. And, so that's what we're doing right now, and we'll once we get the feedback and make the adjustments we need, we'll be back on the water and go run some more laps.
Yeah, you bet. I mean, if you're starting at 157, that's a good sign for the weekend.
Oh, it's really good. It's gonna take some fast boats to go run with the home street, and Graham Trucking's definitely up for the challenge, and I know the rest of the guys, teams out there are too. So we're here to put on a great show for the fans, but at the same time go out and try to win.
Water looked fairly smooth, just a little bit of wind, which I assume gives you just a little bit of chop. Any problems?
Yeah, no, the water conditions were actually pretty good. It is a little windy and choppy out there, but nothing that we can't go run, especially, we can race hard in it. And, but right now, we're just out there testing, but it kind of gets us set up for that race water too. So, but as of right now, we just got to keep on running. It's nice being here in Guntersville. I sat on the sidelines last year and watched from the live feed, and it's definitely a lot better being here and being able to be on the screen and not watching from the other side.
Yeah, I know you well enough to know you want to be in a boat as often as possible.
Yeah, I mean, there's reasons why, we got to stay home at times and stuff like that. And, but now here we are, and we've definitely improved, and, we're going to go out there and do what we can and, have fun at the same time.
Now, what a lot of fans don't know, casual fans, is that you'll have different race setups for different water conditions. A lot of what you do in the testing periods is to find the right setups to make sure you know what's going on. You're also, looking for landmarks as you're going around to figure out your timing marks, right?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, we're going out there and we're definitely getting our lap times, and while we're testing, we're also getting ready to do race strategies, whatever we can to get ourselves prepared for the racing. And but it's different being out here, because we're quite a ways from the race course. So when you leave here, it is different. You got to try to find a spot and hope that you're aiming for the right spot when you get there. And so far so good. So.
Yeah, well, one of the things you're known for is good starts, and that's a big part of hydroplane racing.
You either win them or lose them at the start, and I've lost some at the start, and I've definitely won some because of the start. So if you can hit a start, you've gotten the first thing out of the way.
Yeah, so as the boats go around, when we see competition racing tomorrow, they will try to hit the start-finish line at as close to zero as possible. If you go over half a second, you've lost the race.
Yeah, you don't want to take yourself out before the race begins. So you got to make sure you hit it right on zero.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the time. Appreciate it. I know you're working with your crew, looking at some data and making some last-minute adjustments. So, J. Michael, thank you for the time, and we'll talk to you later this weekend.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the boat's sitting in the water right now and just waiting to put the cowling back on, and we'll be back out there in a few minutes. But it's great to be here in Guntersville, and just thanks for having us, and we're excited.
Yeah, well, we're excited to have you guys here. It's a good time. So we'll check in with you later. Corey Peabody, I think, is headed out, or maybe is out on the course right now, and we'll take a look at what he's doing and hopefully grab him when he comes off.
And just a little update on our situation here. We are
What do we
still in a holding pattern. We had a buoy that was out of place, and the H1 officials have got the buoy back in place, but now we apparently have an issue down along the causeway with someone on a jet ski. So we've got to make sure the course is completely clear before we put a 200-mile-an-hour race boat out on the water. So as soon as the course is deemed clear and safe, we understand we have at least one boat, the U12 Graham Trucking, with J. Michael Kelly is wanting to come back out. So hopefully we will, maybe we can throw it over to Paul Doogie. And Paul, we understand the 12 is in the water. Have you got another boat in the water as well?
Yeah, Brandon, if you can hear me, we've got the 98 in the water. They're both getting ready to set up. Right now, I'm here with Kelly Stocklin and Dustin Eccles with the 440. And welcome back to Guntersville, guys. We're glad to see you.
Glad to be here.
Water looks a lot better than it did this time last year, doesn't it?
Yeah, this is night and day difference. The wind's coming from the right direction, what wind we do have, but the course is awesome, and it's going to be great for qualifying today.
Yeah, and that was Dustin Eccles. Let's talk to Kelly Stocklin for just a minute. Kelly, you plan to run the whole circuit this year, from what I understand.
Always. We've always tried to run the full circuit.
Yeah. Now, you've driven these boats. You retired a couple of years ago. Now you're a boat owner. Tell us a little bit about how your boat is different than some of the other hydroplanes that you'll see out here this weekend.
Yes. Our boat's smaller. The engine's smaller. Everything is smaller about the boat. It is legal. It's the same size as most of the boats were back in the B12 days. And we're running about the same horsepower they did. And so that's what we're trying to accomplish there. We realize we're not in the running with the 3,000 horsepower boats, but we have a good time.
Yeah, oh, you absolutely do. We're here, one of the boats fire up in the background. It looks like the 98's going back. So I'm going to toss it back over to Brad, and we'll catch up with you guys in just a little bit. Brad?
All right.
Okay, we've got boats coming out on the race course, the 98, with Corey Peabody, and we are going to step away and yield to the live stage. We'll be back later. Welcome back again to the 2019 Race for the Southern Cup on Lake Guntersville. We're kind of dancing back and forth a little bit here between the live stream microphone and the PA microphone. So back here on the live stream, this is Brad Luce again. And we've got activity on the water as Corey Peabody, young man out of Kent, Washington, is aboard the U98 Graham Trucking American Dream. Corey was out earlier. He needed to run 4 laps, 3 of which were over 130 miles an hour to successfully requalify himself as an H1 driver. He came out and ran those 4 laps, 136, 140, 141, and 141. When I went to school, that was north of 130, so he is a successfully requalified H1 unlimited driver. And he comes off the top end of the race course. Quickest lap, I think I just said, was 141. We'll see what kind of speeds we see this time. Now that he's got the qualification effort in the rearview mirror, he can go out and try and get himself a race boat. Corey Peabody puts one in the book. So Corey works his way off the lower corner. That first lap was 139 miles an hour. And keep in mind that when we talk about becoming a qualified or a re-qualified H1 Unlimited driver, what that means is he is qualified and can go out and race. However, he will still have to start on the outside or possibly behind the field in his first few heats at the discretion of our chief referee, Doug Shelton, who is watching very carefully right now as young Mr. Peabody comes down the front straightaway, getting a very good boat ride. And that former Fred Leland hull, the 98 Graham Trucking American Dream. 139.792 miles an hour for Corey. It is just so good to see that particular color scheme and pattern back out on the water. The owner of the boat, Rob Graham, first sponsored an unlimited hydroplane in 1998. That was the color pattern aboard the boat in 1998. So when he picked up this hull in reverence and memory to Fred Leland, for whom he first sponsored in 1998, he wanted to redo the retro paint job, and I can tell you, as someone who remembers that boat so very well, it looks really, really good. Red, white, and blue, Corey Peabody, the 98. Get a speed on it here. He is already across and headed down into turn number 1. Speed on that lap, 141.783. That is, by a tick of the clock, his quickest lap so far, eclipsing an earlier lap of 141.4. And Corey says that's enough. He will head back to the pit area. So Corey will head it back to the pit area. Not sure if we have anybody else in the water. And we just heard over the official radio that the U-12, the Graham Trucking with J. Michael Kelly, is pulling away from the dock. Now we can look across the race course and see some water moving over there away from the dock. We will assume that is bright red, trimmed in black and silver, U-12. J. Michael Kelly aboard Rob Graham's Graham Trucking. J. Michael has had the boat out on the water a couple of times today. The first time was actually the fastest when he turned some laps north of 157 miles an hour. And he was out earlier in this particular test session and ran only 2 laps. The first was 154 and change, the next 152. So earlier this morning, his fast lap was 157.068. I do not believe they took the boat out of the water. I believe they left the boat at the dockside, made some adjustments under the hood. We're waiting for us to get the buoy put back in place. We did, and now we'll see if they've made a move that can find them a little bit more speed. J. Michael starts to put the foot down a little bit at the top end of the race course, and as we've said a few times, it's a long run off that exit pin down to start-finish line. It's about a 12-second run. So here comes J. Michael Kelly. This is the first day he has ever been on this Guntersville Hydrofest race course. And he's already told us he likes it, and he likes it a lot. Very light boat ride on the front end of the U12 as he heads down to the lower corner. And actually, from where I am standing, he gets a little bit out of my view, and I'm not used to looking at the monitor. It's sitting right in front of me on a monitor. I can pick him up there, but now I've got him in full view. Halfway up the backstretch. JMK driving a bright red U12 Graham trucking. They've added some color to it this year. They've splashed some black and silver on the deck, on the cowling, and the fairings. Boat looks terrific. Quite candidly, the looks are one thing. What Mike wants is a bunch of boat speed. So he's going to come down and put his first lap in the books. On the clock, we'll get a speed for you. Getting a very nice boat ride. Nice and light on the front end. Walking back and forth on the spots. He's put the lap in the books. That one was 151 miles an hour. 151 for J. Michael. He's already off the corner and running into a little bit of a breeze now as he goes up the backstretch. It's been very calm, and it is still very calm here right now, but there is a little bit of a breeze coming out of the top end of the race course that Mike is feeling as he runs up toward the entrance pin to turn 2, right about there. And you see the wall of water come up off that big skid fin on the left-hand side.
What I do is just make sure this isn't getting pulled on.
Tighten this one up a little bit. This one's going to be a little bit quicker. Mike getting a real nice boat ride from right here. You can look right underneath the boat, channeling a lot of air through the air traps. Walking it back and forth. A little bit higher there than I think he may have wanted to get. That one was 152.142. 152 miles an hour for JMK. I thought perhaps it appeared as though he maybe pulled his foot, and I don't see him coming out of the corner down at the lower end, so he may be headed back, and it looks like that's what he is going to do. So J. Michael Kelly comes out and runs a couple more laps, adding to his run. A 151.341, and then that last lap a tick faster at 152.142.
So. Are we going to have anybody else want to come out?
And with that, the course is now closed, so we'll step away from the live stream.
Thank you very much.
So our next activity on the water for the H1 Unlimiteds will be our official qualification session. That will come at 4 o'clock Central Time. 4 o'clock Central Time this afternoon, that's when we will make it official and go qualifying, and that's when we will be back on the live stream. So tune in then. It'll be qualifying for the 2019 Race for the Southern Cup on Lake Guntersville. We'll be back.